plenty.
2 hours? No, you were asking about what? Oh, yeah, live music.
Live music, yeah.
In Fresno.
Yeah, it's like a
That's
Tower District.
That's probably your best bet, man. That's
like
the thing
this.
with, right?
Nice.
That's what Fresno's missing, like a live, place you can go hear some live music.
Silver Dollar.
I mean, there are places like that, but not in the daytime, I guess, right? Like, that would be nice. Early on. Yeah.
You have to have somebody going like all day long.
Yeah, yeah. Or starting just earlier for the older people like myself, like, let's start at 3 p.m. to like 5.
Especially like this.
Like right now, like
we have
beautiful
good weather in spring.
Right.
Spring, a little bit of fall. Other than that, it's too cold or too hot.
Right. So
they gotta break out the jazz bands when it's this time of year over here.
Yeah, that would be awesome, man. And as the weather is beautiful like this, like outdoor setting kind of like this would be nice live band. Yeah. Maybe that's a try. Maybe we might have to come together and open up something, man, because it doesn't exist right now here. But that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Nice little cigar spot. But man, so here we are, man. Real estate's been crazy this last few weeks, man. The market has been doing a bunch of things. A lot of stuff going on, man. So we had the Fed meeting this week, right?
Which was pretty
dot plot.
Yeah. And it was pretty neutral. Pretty neutral. Not a whole lot of change. Numbers were higher than expected, but again, it really wasn't a whole lot of change.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're looking at higher sixes, lower sevens for a conventional loan.
Okay.
Higher sixes for government, FHA, VA loans.
Gotcha.
Probably be there for longer. Higher for longer.
Higher for longer is what they're doing, huh? So let's talk
Seems
about
to be the route.
the economy is virtually seemingly strong by the reports. I mean, in a sense, as far as the
Right.
job numbers are decent. I think GDP is around what 1.2 around now. I think GDP is not or 2.1. I'm sorry, 2.1. So that's not bad. We got what else we got? What other factors? CPI, inflation, right? So, did you catch the reading this week or last week? I think it came out.
Yeah, last week.
I think it ticked up. Core ticked up.
Like 0.1, right?
Right, and then headline, I think, remained.
Which
I
pretty
think
much indicates,
one went down and one went up. I can't recall.
Yeah,
pretty
much just indicates that the economy is not falling, and is in fact more leaning towards being fine, just fine.
Yeah,
so at that point, what kind of relief is needed?
Soft landing looks like it's happening right now.
Yeah, definitely. Which I think is a better deal.
Yeah.
The same way everybody was buying up homes when the rates were low.
Yeah.
Everybody was losing homes when the market was terrible.
Right.
So instead of living in one of the extremes,
it's kind of steady right now.
This
it's
right
a little
here
bit more balanced.
is good. I mean, I think so.
Yeah. No. The health of the economy is doing well, and
buyers are getting a fair shake out there. Sellers are getting a fair shake out there. Sure, there's not a whole lot of transactions, but I see a lot of fair transactions.
Sure.
So that's not a bad deal.
Yeah, and one thing in the market, at least here in Fresno, what's happening is, really across the nation for the most, but a lot more new listings are coming to the market. So a lot more than last year. Last I checked, I think we're about 20% more new active listings coming to the market than last year over year, which is quite a bit. A nice tick up. We're still
nationwide.
Nationwide, right? Well, even Fresno, we're around that. We're the numbers are typically with the nation are closer to. Fresno's kind of falls along those numbers, plus or minus a few, but we're closer to that than like say the Bay Area is to the nation or LA, right? Those are different.
Those are outliers.
Exactly. So we're about 15-20% as well as far as inventory, new houses coming to the market, new properties. As far as, but one thing I do notice too, the bulk of those new listings are typically above the median, right? Let's call it 400, 420, around that. Anything above that, a lot of listings are coming on the market 450, 500, 600 and up. So what we're noticing is homes above the median, that's where a lot of the inventory is, and buyers have a lot more selection, and houses are sitting a little longer, as you go higher. Anything, I would say, sub 400 here in Fresno, that's nice. It's kind of feel like the pandemic is gone. You're going to have multiple offers.
That's everybody's affordable range.
Exactly. Right? So that's where the need is. We still don't. We still very low inventory, especially in that lower end of the market, because that's where the demand is. So we're going to still see a lot of competition. The 4 sub 4. But what's good news is for the buyers that are shopping, say 450, 500 and up, you're gonna have a lot more options. Because I just went out a few days ago with some buyers, and they're looking around the 700 range. And man, we saw so many homes that were beautiful, and a lot of them were just sitting on the market. And agents are calling like, "Hey, what do you guys think?" Like that type of activity wasn't really happening when when the market was acting fast, right? You would hardly hear from the agents because they didn't have to call or follow up because things were selling and
offers were coming in
fast.
Right.
Yeah, now
there was no time to follow up.
Right now it's slower, but again, below the median, hot as hotcakes, I should say. Fresno County as a whole, the median price is around 468 right now. 468 right now. Yeah, last year we were sitting around what was it last year? It was March of 23, around 454. So, so we're up. We're definitely up, which is a good thing, year on year. That's what I'm saying. So 468 right now, last year 454. So, yeah.
You still have a lot of people that are...
It's about 14K.
Yeah, in 1 year.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, the good thing is things are still no one's losing equity right now, and appreciation is still going up. So good news.
So what is that? It's 14,000, and you said that was a 400 at what last year?
So last year 454. So this year around 468.9. So let's call it 469. So let's say 15K.
3%?
Let's round up 15K. Yeah.
3%.
Yeah. So year on year, 3%.
Normal.
Yeah, which is good, which is healthy.
It's ideally factored, like into those calculators. They tell you what's your net worth going to be if you own this home for 15 years.
Right.
Ideally, what's calculated is 3% appreciation. 3
Sure.
to 4.
Yeah, yeah. So we're right on pace right now. We're looking good. Healthy appreciation is happening here in Fresno County. Good news for everyone out there, homeowners. Values are still holding as of now. So.
Because I think we were expecting some flatness when we saw those huge spikes during COVID. Everybody was expecting, okay, well, we're gonna at the very most.
Yeah.
We're going to be flat after all those years of increased appreciation speed.
A lot of projections to the downside
rates.
too.
Right. Majority of people, it's going to fall.
Yeah.
Few people, at least flat.
Right.
And we're still getting some appreciation, so you can't complain there.
Yeah, yeah. It just shows how strong and stable the housing is in general. Real estate is, well, at least residential real estate. We're not going to get into commercial. That's a whole different ball game. And guys, understand, you're hearing the news and they're saying real estate is in trouble, this and that. You just got to be careful because they can skew it. They're really talking about the commercial real estate that's having a lot of issues and a lot of things.
A lot of adjustable mortgages. A lot of balloon payments coming due. A lot of different financing terms that just kind of
a lot of pain
dictate needing an exit strategy. And if there's no exit strategy that makes sense, what are they going to do?
Right.
So that's where they're at. Whereas homeowners, basic homeowners,
but residential, you guys we're looking good right now. We're solid.
Equity. Yeah, tons of equity.
Equity is up through the roof.
If you have equity, you have options.
That's it.
If you have equity, you have options.
You do. Yes, you do. One thing I'm also noticing is a little bit more buyer uncertainty for some reason this time.
Yeah.
Now it could be predicated due to a little bit elevated rates, pricing, however, but the market is still moving. But we're just noticing a little bit more cancellations are up a little bit. I was talking to an escrow officer the other day. She's seeing the same thing. She was seeing that out of 10 escrows, about 40% of them are actually canceling.
Wow.
4 out of 10. Yeah, she's noticing that. So.
You say why? Any research? Payment shock?
She didn't go into details, but I'm also kind of noticing a little bit more that I think, it's an emotional thing, and then, it could be a number of things, right? It could be, sometimes the buyers, the financing just doesn't work out for the buyer. Sometimes buyers just have second thoughts, once they see the payments, they realize like, it's a little bit higher for me, I just don't know if I want to do this right now.
You think appraised values are an issue? No, huh?
I don't think it's so much that, to be
offers.
honest.
Yeah.
I think it's more or less the emotion of the buyer and who they're listening to. Maybe they're getting information from maybe on the news or family members, like, oh man, who knows, but there is a lot of negative or false information
Yep.
that people do get, or false narratives of real estate in general. So we just got to be clear and thorough and letting people know, like, real estate virtually is the safest long-term investment, period. That's a fact. So we could just talk facts. You're going to hold for 8 to 10 years, you're going to live in your home or keep it for that long. High chance, I don't know it's at least in the 90% chance that you're going to increase equity over that period of time. Of course, there could be dips in between that 8 to 10 year span, but the longer you hold, the better chances you're going to gain equity, and you're going to have appreciation. And you're going to look back like, wow, after 10 years, I got quite a bit of equity in my home, and you can use it for whatever you want to use it for. So it's a great long-term investment, in my opinion.
And it's like a double whammy, because you can view it as an investment, especially when it begins to rise in value and you're constantly paying down this balance. So that gap between what it's worth and what you owe just continues to increase, over the years. And then on the flip side of that, it stands as an investment that you can live in. Provides a roof over your head, so it's like a double whammy. It's something you need. It's a good place to place your money.
Definitely,
especially if you're gonna live in it.
Right.
You can get in for 3% down, 5% down.
Gives
so
you
in other words, you get access to 100% of an asset by only putting 3% of its worth down out of your pocket. Where else do you get that? Can you buy,
the leverage
operate
is crazy.
100% of Apple stock by just buying it for 3% of what it's worth?
Right.
It's not happening.
No.
Yeah, they'll give you a fractional share. You get 0.3. You know what I mean? So you don't get that with any other investment vehicle other than real estate.
Very true.
And like I said, you get to live in it.
And you get to live in it and enjoy it. So you got to live somewhere, right? Why not live in your own investment?
Right.
Put the money back into yourself and build that. So, and again, it's not for everyone. I'm gonna say that because buying is not for everyone, but I would say majority of people, if you're in that position to buy, it's a great investment. So there are some cases where renting might be an option, just to be transparent. So you just got to know your own situation, your own financial situation, and also always think of the future. What's going to put your family in a better position 5-10 years from now? Where you're going to be. So that's speaking of which, I keep hearing a lot of this Dream Home for All is coming back around the program. So there's a lot of noise out there.
Yeah.
Who better to tell us more about it and explain it than Mr. Mark Rocha? So you could take it from there. Let us know what's going on with that.
This is a semi-new program. Came out last year, actually around this time. I think end of March. They brought it out last year, and it is through an agency that's been around forever, Cal HFA. They have always offered down payment assistance, always. Except the products that they offered were just the minimum. So the 3.5% down that you come in with as an FHA loan is all that they were covering. This Dream for All takes a spin on that, almost like down payment assistance on steroids. They're giving you 20%.
Wow.
20%. Now, I say giving because they're allowing you to move into the house without having to pay that 20%. But it's not quite a gift. So if you sell or refinance in the future, they want their portion back. So at some point in the future, you're going to be taking on a loan to cover that and pay them off. So,
wait, just before you go on, so just to be clear, so it's not due, the loan is not due back until they sell their house?
Sell or refinance.
Or refinance their house.
Right.
Quick question, I know people may ask, what if can they use an FHA loan for this? And
it has to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So FHA is 3.5%, but they're giving 20, so how does that work?
Actually, I take that back. It does not. The Dream for All does not. The Dream for All can be either one, conventional or
Gotcha.
FHA.
Okay. And do they have to use all the 20? Because we only need 3.5 for the FHA.
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, you can use any amount of that 20% you want to cover closing costs. You're not going to need more than 2 or 3% of that. So really the way that it's going to look is if you wanted to cover your down payment and your closing costs with this program,
really,
you would really be doing about 17% down.
So you can use it for closing and
correct.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought it was just strictly down payment.
No. You can use it for both.
Wow, that's awesome.
At least last year. Last year you could. This year I would assume that it's the same. The only thing that is reported to be changing with it coming back this year in beginning of April is the amount of funds that they're putting into this program.
Oh.
Last year when it came out, they California, when I say they, the California filled this fund with $300 million worth.
Wow. How long did that last?
That lasted 11 calendar days.
In 11 days, it was over.
11
That's
days it was gone. It was
crazy.
about 2,400 families that they had helped, and it was gone. After that, it was all gone. They managed to help 2,400. So this time around, they're changing it. It is 200 million. 200 million is what they're giving that fund for California to fund this program to put it out again. But that is 33% less than what they did last year. And if it was gone in 11 calendar days,
minus 32% is how many days?
33% is 7.
7 days,
so
guys.
You're looking at being gone in 7 days, 7.5 days.
That's crazy. Too fast.
If it's at all the same pace, I would imagine that it is.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you get 20% down that you don't have to pay on while you live there, your monthly mortgage payment is going to be a lot lower because you're borrowing less money.
Right.
When you're borrowing less money, your mortgage payment is going to be lower.
Sure. So
now again, that 20% that they gift you or let you borrow will be paid back when you sell or refi.
When you sell and refi.
But for as long as you live in it, you will not be making a payment on those borrowed funds.
Got it.
You will not be.
So once they resell or refi, is it just the 20% of whatever that is it goes back, or is it?
The entire cost. So you're going to have a first mortgage that you're making monthly payments on. Then you're going to have 20% that you borrow. You will not be making payments on that. When you sell or refi, you got to pay off the mortgage that you have left plus the portion you borrowed. So you're going to be making payments on, just to make it simple, if it's a $500,000 purchase, 20% of that is $100,000. So you're going to be making monthly payments on borrowing that $400,000 because the $100,000 that they let you borrow, no payments while you're there.
Payments.
In the future, when you sell or refi to bring down the rate or get rid of the home, you're going to have to pay back wherever your mortgage is sitting at because you're making monthly payments plus that $100,000 is still there. You pay
Does
it
that
back.
accrue interest? The $100,000? Is there interest on top of that added over
Yes.
time? So
Very small.
Gotcha.
Very small. The real kicker with this program is also on the back end when you sell or refi. With the 20% that they're giving you down, they're also taking 20% of the equity that's gained. So let's go back to that example, $500,000. They're giving you $100,000 as a down payment and closing cost. You're still making monthly payments on that $400,000.
Right.
When you go to sell or refi, if that home is now worth $600,000 when you do it, that's a $100,000 spread between the $500 you bought it for and the $600 it's now worth.
Right.
They get 20% of that.
On top of what you pay back.
Right. And you're not necessarily paying them back, you're just giving them back what you borrowed.
What you borrowed.
But then what you are giving up is 20% of the equity gain.
20%.
So you would be giving them $20,000 plus the $100,000 you borrowed.
So that constitutes, I guess, as the interest, like getting a little bit. Like,
yeah, correct.
That's their return. They're making a return.
Yeah, absolutely. They're making 20% on their money.
Wow.
That's what they're doing. So the good way to view this is they must be extremely bullish on the California housing market. Because why would California dump all of this money into a fund to help people buy homes and make money on the back end if they did not think that there was going to be money on the back end?
Right.
They wouldn't do it, right? They wouldn't do it. So
yeah. So basically, the state is saying that, hey, housing is stable. It's going to go up because they wouldn't loan the money if they didn't think it's going to. If they didn't think prices are going to go up. So that's a good point. I think we should stop there because there's so many buyers out there right now that are saying, oh, I'm going to wait till values go down and prices drop. Hey, if California, the state, is banking on prices going up because they're loaning money, it's probably a slim chance we're going to see any drastic reduction in prices over the years, guys. So that's to the buyer out there, because I've heard actually this week alone 2 different people saying, no, I'm gonna wait till prices go down. I'm just gonna wait. Yeah. But I had to explain to them, like, I mean, we've been tested ever since 2008. That was a whole different scenario, right? Correct. And that was fixed supposedly in the lending, and that was a whole different, guidelines have been put in place and regulations to avoid that. Ever since then, I mean, the biggest test obviously has been 2020, the pandemic. When that hit, the first thought was, oh man, houses are going to crash. They're going to go down. Yeah. But what happened? It went the opposite way. So
in a big way.
Yeah. So
it didn't just go the opposite way. It
went extreme the other way.
We're talking. What did we say about 3 to 4% appreciation is what we just had. Those years were like
that was per
13
month.
to 14. Yeah, it
Three
was
per month.
crazy.
Yeah, it was going crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a message out there to guys that just kind of keep that in mind if you're considering buying or considering waiting. You might be waiting forever, or you might wait for a long time. Ideally, it's best to try to talk to a loan officer and see what programs are available. Just buy what makes sense for you. If you can afford the payments, if you have the down payment, if you're getting assistance, if it makes sense, go for it, go all in, because it's a good chance you're going to win. Later
Over the long term.
Over the long term.
Yeah, if you got short-term stay here, if you're only here for work and you know work's going to shift you back to, I don't know, Ohio or something, probably not the best thing to do.
Unless there's a strategy, unless you
make it a rental.
Unless you're savvy, right? You're savvy. You buy it correctly to where you can rent it out, and the rent you get is gonna cover the mortgage and some in your pocket. Then it might be a good rental property.
Yeah, just any exit strategy. As long as you have an exit strategy that makes sense, financial sense, not a bad idea.
Very true.
To view it as an investment. And that's one of the things I've tried to tell more of my colleagues on the lending side, is that we should really stop calling it a down payment. And I know I still do, but we really should stop calling it a down payment, because it is not a payment at all. I mean, you're just shifting your assets, the money in your checking, the money in your savings, the money in your retirement account, your 401k, however you're buying this house, you're just shifting it from one investment vehicle. Because the banks pay you to keep your money in there. They pay you very little, but they pay you.
Yeah.
So you're just shifting it from one asset and moving it to another. So it should not be called a down payment.
Right.
It should be called an initial investment.
Sure.
That's what it should be called.
It's much better than
because
a bank.
that is what it is.
It's better than
an
an average
initial
bank.
investment.
Yeah.
It's way better.
Way better. And you're right, 100%. It's all about, and that's the
psychological.
that's really what it is. It's an investment.
It's an initial investment.
And
it's
if
not a
people
down payment.
looked at it that way to what it really is, and we understand, because real estate is kind of confusing. A lot of people I didn't understand a lot of how it worked, but just knowing that it really is an investment, and because even though it's not brought, it's not introduced that way. So the terminology and semantics are not right way. But if people understand that this is really what it is, because you can use the same 15K or 20K and let it sit in the bank, you're gonna get 0.00 something.
Yeah,
or
nothing.
You can put it down on a house, and you're gonna get, on average right now, 3% a year. So what is better, 3% or 0.0001 that the bank is offering? Unless you have it in some type of high interest account or money market or something like that. Other than that, you're best off. And plus, you get to live in it. You get to use something that's going to appreciate.
Yeah,
right?
it's not gone. It's still there. You know what I mean? And,
so it's better, really.
You can borrow it again in the future.
Right.
You can borrow against it or sell and get the biggest check most people will probably get in their life is from the sale of real estate.
Sale of real estate.
Make
right.
50, 60, 70 grand.
Six
of a home
figures
you
or
used to
more.
live in. And it's tax exempt because you used to live in it.
Right.
Not a lot of people know that too.
Yeah.
So if you,
it's like $500 per couple.
Right. Yeah. Per couple, $250,000 in profit for an individual from the sale of a primary home. Tax exempt.
Free money, but it's all you. Uncle Sam cannot touch that. Isn't that a beautiful thing?
Yeah.
Just to get $250K, boom, to your account.
Yeah.
I'm waiting on that day, but it will happen one day. Before I forget too, average price per square foot is kind of important. I think it's $260, guys. $260 per square foot.
Fresno? Clovis.
Fresno County.
Fresno County.
Yeah. Well, I'm going county. We can go down. Let's break it down to city by city. Let's do Fresno. As I'm pulling this information up, anything else on the lending side that we should know about that's changed or going on?
No, man. The changes that came when lending was a problem,
Yeah.
have kind of rectified it. I mean, nobody's buying homes that are based on income they say they make. Everything is verified and sourced.
Right.
None of these foreclosures or anything going to hit the market all of a sudden when rates stay high and home value and homes stay on the market longer. It has nothing to do with the lending side. So
No.
if you get with somebody and they tell you, hey, you can afford X amount of house and the payment will be Y, if those numbers are too high for you, then just adjust accordingly.
Sure.
But there's no foul play on the lending side like there was.
Oh, yeah.
To cause any sort of. We can't. I mean, you
Yeah.
just can't. You cannot lend to somebody
Right.
if all of their bills are going to be more than like half of their gross income. Half.
Yeah.
Before they were just
No doc loans back in
willy-nilly.
pre-08, guys. It was
Ninja.
Wild West. It was
NINJA, no income, no job.
that's
Ninja loans.
Man, that's it. Yeah. And that's what it was before, and that's part of the reason the crash of '08. So again, for those that are thinking like, it's going to be a crash, none of those factors are in this market. Those are gone. There's none of those unstable loans and things like that. Now the buyer or borrower is truly qualified. They really, on paper, they really can buy, afford the home. So,
no, I mean, I'm not going to say. I'm just going to say, on the lending, specifically on the lending side, there's no issue with the ability to repay these mortgages in 99% of these loans. There's no issue.
Right.
So I mean, anything can happen. Pandemic happened. Nobody thought that scenario out. I mean, most people did not think that scenario out.
No.
It hit. It happened, and housing is still here.
Yeah, we're still strong,
so
relentless, man. Even with 7% rates, or it went up to almost hit 8. I think a year.
It did. It did hit 8. Yeah, it hit 8, and then
it slowed down quite a bit. Values maybe got affected, maybe a few percent here and there, but nothing drastic. They softened a little bit.
End of October last year was that peak, and then ever since then, it's just been trickling down, shoot back up, just kind of like fighting. Just fighting to. But the overall trajectory is now pretty flat, but since October, it's just been down.
Right. Yeah. Good news. So back to what I was saying. Yeah, price per square foot in Fresno, proper Fresno, the city, $256 per square foot. So, yeah. So healthy market. Let's go Clovis. Clovis is looking around $268 a square foot, a little bit more. So, yeah, median in Clovis right now, median list price right now is $589. Yeah. So, last year around this time in Clovis, guys, the average or the median list price was $520. So, $520. We're at $589 now. So.
Jeez.
Clovis had some equity.
Clovis is a booming city.
If
you're from
it's
the
desired.
area, highly desired. Property taxes show it. You're going to pay more to live there.
Yeah.
But the roads, the city itself is newer. There's areas that are developing and much.
Great quality.
Crime rate is lower.
Crime rate. Quality of life is nicer, cleaner.
The police department has better reviews than Fresno Police. So I mean, there's just a lot that's going on there.
Right.
But to each their own. Some people still don't want to live there, and I understand their reasoning why. It's just it is what it is.
I'm gonna just say this is kind of interesting. I have a brother-in-law. He's been on Clovis PD for many years. I want to say about a couple years ago. About a couple years ago. I asked him, about homelessness and stuff like that in Clovis. It was so funny because he said at the time, he was like, "Oh yeah, there's about 8. I think he said 8 or 10 or something. It was a low number of homeless." He was like, "Oh yeah, we know all of them." There's John. He's over there. He hangs out there. It was wild because it's like, wow, they knew all the homeless people exactly where they were and knew them like by name almost.
There was so little that was even possible.
Right. So that's just what Clovis is about, So.
I don't think that's true anymore, though.
I'm not saying now. Because over the course of the years, things have increased up. Maybe but it was just interesting at the time. I was like, wow, it was only that many, and he knew exactly who they were. I was like, wow, okay, and makes sense.
Yeah, I can go to one intersection and see way more than that.
In Clovis?
No, in Fresno.
No, we're talking Clovis.
No, I know.
But now,
I mean, it's.
Yeah, Fresno. Yeah,
it is ballooned.
It has.
Out of control.
But LA is probably the worst, I would say, in California, the most homelessness, and then you probably got San Francisco.
I went to a Sacramento Kings game, and it was pretty bad over there.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Right on the City Hall steps.
Sheesh.
They're full tents, 3 of them, 4 of them, just kind of made like a little neighborhood, a little block. I wouldn't be surprised if they had mailboxes out front. It was wild.
Yeah.
Right on the City Hall steps.
That's crazy.
Of the state capitol. Yeah, it was wild. I didn't realize Sacramento had a problem like that as well. Yeah. But I'm sure it's all of California. In the bigger cities.
Yeah, definitely.
Smaller cities, I would imagine they're probably not out there. In the rural areas of Corcoran and Chowchilla, probably not the biggest population, but definitely the big cities of California, it is definitely an issue.
It's so interesting that they're right there on the the steps, the courthouses and in City Hall. And yet, there's really not much. I don't see any. They don't have any programs or anything set up
Yeah,
for these
no.
homeless. You know, it's like I don't. Is there a plan? I don't see how you can walk. You know, walk to City Hall every day and just stepping over homeless people and just going about your and hop in
Right,
your bin,
right.
hop in your bins and drive off and
Right.
just kind of interesting, man. Who knows, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's a tough conversation I have with my kids. They'd
Really?
ask, yeah, they've seen homeless around here. Ask why they're out there. Why do they have
What'd you say?
shopping carts?
the camping.
They're just being honest.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had to be honest. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Give them an idea of what's really out there. You know, and the real world. You know. But yeah, it is. I mean, if there's that many to where children are noticing from a passing vehicle,
Sure.
you know that there must be a lot. You know, so it is. It's every corner.
It is.
Every neighborhood, you know, if they're not in the neighborhood, they're right outside of it on the main street.
They're on freeways, off of freeways.
I've seen that a lot, man.
Walking on freeways now. It just, yeah.
Right.
Who knows, man. But, you know, we just got to, all you do is pray and just, you know, wish everything, you know, and vote right and do what you can.
Do you think any of these homeless are buyer's agents who are giving up because of this NAR lawsuit that came out? That's a sensitive subject, though. Right? It just passed. Tell us what that NAR lawsuit is.
All right, so I'm sure, you know, it's in the news and people are seeing this. I've been asked that question a couple times this week. What's going on with the commission? And I don't got the whole story, but I know this is something that's been going on for many years, and regarding you know, listing and buyer agent commissions, and you know, I guess there were quite a few sellers were feeling like they should not have to pay for the buyer's agent commission, this and that. Ideally, well, one thing is this is fact. Unfortunately, a lot of agents just haven't done a great job on listing appointments to explain to sellers how commissions work, right? And first and foremost, that all commissions are negotiable. You know, I'm sure there's quite a few agents or quite a few homeowners out there who are selling their home felt like it had to be 6% or it had to be 5%, like they really didn't have a choice, which was not the case. It's never been that way, but it's all about how you present it, right? So with that said, yeah, it is negotiable. And really, you know, the listing agent negotiates a fair commission with the seller, right? Ideally, once that commission amount is negotiated, that's over. You know, everyone's in agreement. Seller's happy with the commission, listing agent's happy with the commission. Now, once the listing agent markets the property and sells, if a buyer agent has the best offer, wins the bid right for the house, as a listing agent, my job is to split my commission with the buyer's agent, and then that's how they get paid. So technically, that's how it 10 feet should look, right? I'm negotiating my commission. If another agent has a better buyer with a better offer, it'll be accepted, and I'm going to just share what I negotiated already with the seller, half of that with the buyer's agent. However, I guess it could get skewed and you know, it could look a different way. You know, if things are done differently, it could look as, oh, well, why am I giving the buyer's agent why am I paying directly? When necessarily not really paying directly, it was like, I'm just taking half of what I already negotiated and giving it to them. So that's that. So I guess, yeah, there's lawsuits going on. All in all, there are some changes coming. I don't see a whole bunch change, to be honest. I think it's just a different way negotiations are going to be offered, you know, based on whatever the seller is willing or not willing. So, you know, sellers can typically say, no, I just want to give you 2.5% or 2%.
And they could have done that even prior to this
They
lawsuit.
could have.
That's what you're saying.
You could do it. You can do it, right? However, it would put that seller at a disadvantage, just being frank. You give a listing agent just 2%, that's for them only to market and list your property. Professional, you know, just put money to do all they can to find a buyer, right? Now, understand, you know, and you got to explain this to sellers, if there is no commission to a buyer's agent, there's nothing given to them, they're not going to feel incentivized to push that listing to their buyer. Unfortunately, I mean, you got to think about it. If they feel like they're not getting paid, they're like, oh, there's no commission being given. You know, this is how they get paid. So if they have a buyer, right, they could maybe unfortunately not show their buyer that listing per se, which is not really right, but you got to understand this is the only way they would get paid. So if there's no commission, what incentive do they have to market your property to their own buyers, right?
Gotcha.
And in real estate, we know, I would say 95% or more of buyers have agents. So sellers need to understand that. So if a buyer's agent doesn't have a commission or they're not going to get paid, you're just Xing out a whole market of buyers that...
Assuming that the buyers are going to stay with that agent.
Right, exactly. So that's the thing too. And, you know, assuming they don't have a agreement with the buyer as well. So that's,
right.
You know, so a buyer agent, they're having agreements with buyers to work with them exclusively for a period of time, right? Now, if they see a house and there's no commission, they might pass on that because, I mean, in defense of the buyer's agent, I mean, would you work for free? I mean,
right.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of how it is. So, but at the end of the day, I think sellers, for the most part, understand that you know, it does make sense to incentivize buyer agents to show their buyers. Now the issue is how much should they incentivize them, right? It doesn't have to be 3%, right? It doesn't have to be 2.5, right? It's just whatever they feel.
And I think that was the intention of the suit that was even filed, was that their costs for selling the home were excessive. So if there could have been any percentage from the jump, I think the suit was wondering why the numbers 5 and 6 were even landed on.
Right, and that was like the average, but
right.
It wasn't a rule of thumb. It wasn't in stone. It was just something that, you know, was a practice that's been going on for years. It typically fell between 5 and 6. However, you can't tell a seller that. That wasn't the proper way on a list. You say, no, all commissions are negotiable. Yeah. You know, what do you feel is fair? This is how it, you know, and then work with that. And then also the listing agent has an option to work with whatever the seller wants to offer or not. They have a right to say, okay, well, you know, thank you. That's kind of not enough for me to do my job. Or yeah, I'm willing to do that and I can get the job done with that commission amount, right? On the other side too, what they're doing is they're wanting the buyer to now pay the commission, right, to the buyer's agent, which can cause a lot of issues too, based on whatever market you're in, and whatever buyer you got. A lot of buyers, you know, especially FHA and first-time buyers, they're barely have enough to pay the down payment and closing costs,
right.
Barely. So where is this extra money going to come to pay the buyer's agent? They just don't have it.
Or they just won't use one.
Or they won't use one.
Can they come directly to you if it was your listing?
No, they can. A buyer can.
As long as there's no agreement that they have to work with the buyer's agent.
Exactly. But they need to also understand that they are not going to have their own personal representation, right? Yes, that agent, the listing agent can help you buy it. However, understand that they also have a fiduciary responsibility to the listing agent, so they're going to negotiate. You know, it puts them in a little situation where, you know, they're working with the seller, and the seller wants the most for the property, obviously, right? And the buyer usually wants the best deal they can get. Right. So now, I mean, it's just one of those things. But if you have a buyer agent solely in your corner as a buyer, now you got someone fully negotiating on your behalf, trying to work the best deal they can get, and giving their all 100%, you know, commitment to you. So that's the difference. So it's just really, I would say this: a savvy buyer, a buyer maybe who's bought a few times or comfortable, or an investor, someone like that. Yeah, you can go straight to the listing agent. They're savvy enough. They understand the market. They understand the process. They know what's happening. They can go. But you know, I'm just mostly talking about that first-time buyer who really, you know, they don't really know what's going on. You know, they want great representation. They want to feel like all their needs are being met, and that's what you'll get from just a buyer's agent. So
do you think that a buyer staying with that agent that they feel comfortable with, or that is super knowledgeable, or pulls their weight in value, do you think that a buyer staying with them is going to be something that buyers will view as an option, even if they feel comfortable with that agent and they feel like that agent has their back and they feel like they're going to get a better deal using them. If they have to pay them, do you think that they're going to stick with it?
I mean, you're gonna have some that will and some that won't. And then some that can't just do it. They would want to, It could be a family member, right? It could be a brother. Like, man, I really want to use you. I just don't have extra money. I
barely have $9,000
I
more.
barely have enough to pay this down payment and closing costs, right? I'm scratching. This is all I got. I would love to. So it's just one of those deals.
Part of that buyer's agreement you were talking about, is it possible to have commission on there that the buyer agrees to pay?
Yeah, that can be negotiated if the buyer is able to have. Like, again, it goes back to, can they afford to? Do they have the money to pay the extra? And some
if they say, let's say a buyer says, they like a house, there is no commission for the buyer's agent. It's on the listing.
Sure.
But they like a house. If the buyer says, look, man, I really want you to help me. I only want to give you 1% to help me. Can you work with that? And we go see this house, put an offer in. If we get it accepted, I'll pay you 1%. Now, to put some dollar amount to that, let's say it's a $350,000 home, you're going to pay your agent $3,500 on top of your initial investment, on top of your closing costs. You're also going to pay $3,500 for this buyer's agent. Is that something that's possible with that buyer's agreement? Say, I'm going to pay you 1%?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Whatever.
Do you think more of that will start to happen?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's kind of, but I think we're still gonna be back to where, if the buyer has it or willing to pay that extra percent, and then if the agent, see, everyone's different, right? So I would do it for 1%, but another agent might, that's not enough for me to do what there's some agents that might say, I need 2%, I need 2.5%, right? So everyone's different. Everyone's gonna have their own idea of what it's worth for them to do the job or whatever per se. So, but yeah, definitely, everything is negotiable, right? Commissions are negotiable across the board, whether it's with your buyer or with the seller. It's all negotiable. Whatever you guys discuss, whatever you feel is fair, whatever the agent feels is enough for him to do or her to do the job at the highest level that they can, right? And give them the best service. Then that's them. Everybody's different. Buyer A may feel like I can't work less than 3% because of what I bring. Another agent might say, hey, I can do it for 2% and I can give you the full service. And that's, so mentality is just based on what they're able and willing to do.
I'm interested to see how this all shakes out because nothing may change. Nothing has to change. If sellers of a home see and value the representation of both agents, both the selling agent, the one that's listing their home for sale, and the buyers that are coming in with their own representation, if they see the value there and they continue to pay 5-6%, nothing's going to change at all.
Right.
The ones that do, that's why I'm interested to see how it shakes out, because if they say, no, I'm only paying you 3%, and then you as a buyer's agent says, hey man, they're not paying me, so I can't help you. So this is how I'm kind of comparing it. So the regulations that came out from 2008, 2009 on lending side, there was a lot of loan products that if you pushed your client into them, you made more money. So there was an incentive to put them in these predatory loans because you made more. You made more. So on the flip side, you cannot say there's no incentive for the realtor to take you to that house because that is literally doing the same thing that loan officers are doing. Right. And I think that's what this lawsuit, it's almost like your guys' Dodd-Frank. Dodd-Frank is the act that came out for us. So the realtor Dodd-Frank is this lawsuit. And I think it would be illegal and predatory and malpractice to not take a buyer to a home if you know that they're not going to pay you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So they can't do that either. But if there can be a mixture of, hey, if you can pay me 1%, the seller's making 3%, I'm going to ask the seller's agent for 1%.
You can.
Now collectively they're going to get 2%, the seller's going to get 2%.
Right.
It's less than what they were getting, but by a little bit, 0.5%.
Sure.
So I think that is going to have to start happening if this works out this way. But again, I want to see how it shakes out because sellers may not change it at all. They may, no, 5%,
I really don't think. I don't see it. I mean, they're going to have those small cases where some sellers may just, not want to do it, or But I think it's how it's explained to them and them understanding how it works thoroughly. The ups and downs, the negatives and the positives of everything. They get a full picture. I'm sure the average seller is reasonable. They'll understand, like, okay, I get it. It makes sense. But you're right. I wouldn't. I don't agree with not showing an agent, a buyer, a house if they love it, regardless of what it. We can figure, if you love it and we're gonna make it work, we'll figure out the rest some kind of way, some kind of how. It is what it is, But at the end of the day, you don't want to hold back a property from a buyer because that is bigger than the commission.
That feels illegal. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
But I mean, on the other side, just being frank, you got to understand the buyer agent situation is like, it goes back to, would you work for free? Everyone needs to ask themselves that. Are you willing to go to your job tomorrow and work a full week or a month and not get paid? So it's the same thing if you look at it that way. You see what I mean? It's a lot of, but you take them, whatever house they love, show them, make an offer.
Right.
Figure out how you can work the negotiation, whether it's with the listing agent, they're willing to split something. You could even request the seller with the offer to pay something. Like, hey, here's a great offer from my buyer. I'm just asking you to pay me 1.5%, 2%, whatever that is. Seller has a right to accept or not. I don't see a seller with amazing offer, declining. If it's reasonable.
Right.
If it's a reasonable commission they're asking, and you got an amazing offer, even if it's higher than a list, sure, I'll give this buyer agent. They got a great offer.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It's reasonable. So that's it. It's just going to require a little bit more negotiating on the agent's part, which, that's real estate in general. It's just gonna. I think it's a blessing in disguise. It's gonna force us to become better at negotiating. It's gonna force us to be more thorough and explain things to listing agents and buyers agents how it works, and
just be more valuable in general.
Yeah, it's gonna make us better.
Yeah.
Better agents in general.
Well, but that's any industry.
Right. It's gonna
once the
weed out-
regulations came in for LOs, there was a lot that didn't renew.
Yeah.
So I think it's better for the market, but let's see how it shakes out.
Let's see. Yeah. No one knows.
Back to my original point. Let's see how many of those homeless turn out to be realtors in the next year.
Well, we don't wish that. We'll just say out of the business.
Not wishing it, but
I don't know if they're going to be homeless. They just might leave the industry and go maybe do something else, or just go to part-time, whatever.
Or switch careers.
Yeah,
I think it's very possible that that's going to happen.
Yeah,
very
it's definitely going to be.
If there's any commission-related field, if auto sales go down, you're going to see more auto salesmen leave and go somewhere else. That's just normal. That's natural.
Yeah.
But it is definitely going to drive the value to the top. The agents that are providing that value and the agents that buyers see and go, no, dude, I'm going to pay you.
Yeah.
I would have paid 10 grand more. I would not have put that offer in if it weren't for your advice.
Right.
You saved me $5,000. I'm going to give you half of it.
Right.
Because I was gonna pay that. I was gonna put in an offer for $370. You told me to go in at $357, and they took my offer. You saved me 13 grand. So how about I just give you a flat fee of $5, flat fee of $6?
Right.
It's still net savings for the buyer.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So there's a lot of ways.
There's a lot of ways to do it.
But that is only going to cross a buyer's mind if they feel the value. You're going to come across some buyers that are just looking to nickel and dime everybody. That's normal.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think the value will rise to the top, and we'll see everybody get better.
Yeah, and more importantly, what I'm hearing is there is some talk out there that is not true. Some people are saying, "Oh, now values aren't going to go higher. Prices aren't going to go higher because of you don't have to pay commission." But the commission has nothing to do with pricing and value, guys. The value of what someone's going to pay, it's not going to affect home values per se because an agent is getting, a lower commission or negotiating.
Oh, I see what
some
you're
may
saying.
be feeling, some people feel like, oh, okay, great, prices aren't going to go up or,
Or go down because the seller doesn't have to pay.
Right.
So they're going to lower their price because I don't have to pay as much out.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
that's not how
It doesn't work that way. It's supply and demand.
I've never heard that. I never really thought about that.
There's some talk. There's some people out there feeling that. It's a lot
going on.
It's a lot, and
We'll see how it shakes
and
out.
it's easy for a lot of people to hear something, whether it's the news or just hear it, and think of it a different way, or really not or think it's going to do something that it's really not. So basically, it's not going to affect the market. I don't feel too much. It's just going to have to make us better agents and really go about business the way we should have been this whole time, and being very thorough as far as how commission works.
Yeah.
And
So, question for you, and we're gonna clip this because it's gonna be withdrawals. So, clip this from here on. Our assistant here that cuts this up.
right.
Clip this.
Okay, it's a click.
What do you say to the realtors that are worried about this right now? What do you say for them to do?
I would say, don't worry. There's nothing to worry about. Just get better at explaining, especially listing agents. When you're on those appointments and your seller, be very thorough. Let them understand that it's negotiable. Explain the process of how typically buyers and agents get paid out of your commission that you negotiate with the seller, right? And you offer that. Explain how it's an incentive or it's value to offer something to buyers agents because they are more incentivized. We don't have to worry about some agents who will pass on the listing because there is no commission. We don't want to rule anyone out. When your house is on the market, you want every buyer in the market to know about your house on the market. We don't want any reason for an agent to say, oh man, they're not offering commission. I'm not going to show my buyer that one. Let's go to, hey, you should get, this is a good house, they're paying 3%, whatever, to avoid any of that. So what's fair is fair. Think of I think at the end of the day, everyone just needs to think of everyone else instead of themselves, right? Think about how, if you were to go to work, you want to get paid. So I understand that, if another agent brings a buyer with an amazing offer, there should be no reason to incentivize them based on what, whatever dollar amount that makes sense to you guys. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, we all just need to work together and just be considerate of other people and understand that, we're all working hard at the end of the day. And a big problem of what real estate is, the average person who's not in real estate, most people do not understand or know how much agents work or the value that we bring and everything that behind the scenes that we're doing. A lot of people have this thought that, oh, they don't do anything. All they did was, even if the buyer found the house, I hear that a lot. Buyer's like, well, I found the house I bought. My agent didn't find the house.
Right.
Okay, that may be true, right? We're not magicians. We could present our houses to you. You might not like that one. True, you might be on Zillow and see a house like, oh, this is the one. Send it to your agent, you go see it. But that's not the only job that's a small piece of what a buyer agent does, right? Is find the house. You might find it, but the negotiating, the offers, navigating the whole escrow process, making sure things are going smooth. I mean, dealing with the lender, dealing with the appraiser, dealing with home inspectors, dealing with termite inspectors, dealing with the other agent. It's a lot of moving parts, guys, that you don't really see. And this is really what the agents are getting paid for, not what you see up front. So I don't know whose fault that is. Maybe it's agents as a whole. We just not putting that education or showing enough of behind the scenes. I think we could do a better job of showing what goes into going from point A to closing. Opening escrow to closing. It's a lot of factors, a lot of negotiating, a lot of paperwork that goes into it. So a lot of fires are putting out. I mean, it's just a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what they're getting paid of. So I think just a little bit more appreciation for what buyer agents are doing and listing agents are doing, and I get it, a lot of times, good agents especially, they make it look easy, right? Sometimes they make it look, oh, they just showed up, showed me the house, wrote the offer up, and made $10,000 30 days later. Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff that they kept from you, you know what I mean? It could be, there's times where, the seller may, I don't know. It could be things that are going on that, the buyer agent is protecting their client from. Of course, it's all disclosure, but there's certain things that, you don't have to stress them out about, right? So it's like, okay, we worked through it. It's worked out. There's nothing really everything's good. We're back. We're on the close. So that's all. Yeah, just showing that value. So, and we need to show our own values too.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good, man. It's been the talk of the town for the past week.
Yeah.
This NAR lawsuit.
Yeah.
NAR meaning NAR, National Association of Realtors, settling on those overpriced commissions.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
was filed.
Yeah. So we don't know what's going to happen. I don't have all the ins and outs of the lawsuit, but this is the 50-foot look at how it kind of looks. But yeah, the message to the agents out there, I would not worry much. Just do better, get better, negotiate better, be more thorough, be more open, explain everything, and then let the sellers decide what they would like to do. And you just work with that. And as long as they understand the benefits and disadvantages of giving out a commission or not, as long as they know everything and they're cool with it, nothing to worry about. Just keep working as usual, Just do good work. What else we got? Anything else you want to touch on?
No, I think that's it, man. That's it. That's a good market update.
There you go. And of course, you guys, let's see, we're here at the Cigar Lounge.
Yep.
Had to get a cigar for today. What's the name of this place? Is it
Unlimited? Cigars Unlimited? It's right here, right? Cigars Limited.
Cigars Limited. Right here in Fig Garden Village, right next door to Elbow Room, guys. Great place to get a cigar, have a chat. It's a nice little spot. And that's it, man.
On that note, next time.
2024 market update. March, guys. Heat speakers. Subscribe, comment, like. Come sit down with us one day. You guys have a great one. Later.